Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR335. It's Aew Revolution. Another pleasure to be joined by the Ultimate One. How you doing, fella? You all right?
Hey, I'm good, buddy. How's everything? How's the family over there?
Oh, it's all good over here at the moment because we've got this wonderful wrestling to watch. How's things over in New York City?
Yeah, everything is good. Things are kind of a little bit opening it up little by little over here. You know, they open up again, dining in here and all that stuff. So yeah, things are getting back to normal. Hopefully, like I said, I'm just waiting for the, little independent shows in the United States, especially in New York area, to open up so we can go watch wrestling live.
Yeah, without doubt. Over, like I said, in till June, and then hopefully have the live shows I don't know about when WWE and AEW are going to come over here. But speaking of AEW, like we're going to do, and like we're going to talk about today, is AEW Revolution. Before we start, for those who really enjoy the build up to the pay-per-view and the reviews of the Dynamite, the WNR will be back this weekend for all the prelude and the fallout to the pay-per-view, plus brace for Impact. And again, thanks for all the tweets, messages, and emails that we've been getting. But let's go straight into it then. So it's the 7th of March. What was your excitement level for the event and the match you were most looking forward to at the pay-per-view?
Well, the match that I was looking forward to, of course, was the Explosion match because I am a big fan of that. I used to watch a lot of that stuff about 25 years ago. I got VHS tapes. I got DVDs about that stuff with Onita and Terry Funk, Cactus Jack, or Mick Foley, whatever the guy, people know him today. But I was looking forward to that. And also, the big thing that was going on during the weekend was who was going to sign with AEW, because that was like the big thing, and the Twitter was going crazy. And I love how the fans just make up stuff and it's Brock Lesnar coming to AEW. And, I was like, oh, God, But, but the match that I was really looking for was the Moxley versus Omega Explosion match.
Yeah, right. I mean, I've been wanting to do it for ages, is to do a podcast about like the Japanese hardcore matches, and especially the King of the Death match, like you said, Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, Terry Funk was involved in. And it kind of had the kind of retro feel, that's kind of thoughts that came to your head. And like I said, AEW had so much hype for who the mystery man was and about this main event as well. But we had the buy-in to begin with. And of course, promos to start. We had Sting and Darby versus Team Taz. Not many matches have had more build-up than that one, I don't think. Straight into Shida versus Rio hype. Then it's Bucks versus MJF and Jericho. After it's Paige and Matt fight for big money. The face of the Revolution match, it means everything to Cody. Then the main event is previewed. And then we're into the action. Of course, we've got Tony and Excalibur on commentary. And with Rebel unable to compete following an attack by the hands of Nyla Rose, Dr. Britt Baker introduced her replacement, Japan's Makiyoshi. The duo battle Thunder Rosa and Rio in tag team action to kick off the night's festivities as part of the buy-in. Now, of course, we'll get onto predictions in a little bit. We were going to do it. But this kind of... was it strange that they kind of didn't hype it up, or is it maybe Maki Ito not one of the kind of star names out there?
Well, Maki Ito, I mean, I was hearing a lot about her during the tournament. I had never seen the wrestle, whatever. And the fact that they actually put her in to team up with Britt Baker, I mean, it was good for them to do it as far as to make a team with Britt Baker, because you get at least a feel of what they're trying to do with the women's division because of the tournament. You see all the Japanese ladies that they have over there. So it looks like you're going to see Maki Ito more on the division, which they need anyway. I just don't want it to be an all Japanese division, Yeah. But Maki Ito reminds me of a character that they used to have here. What was I forgot the name? It was Mihao, I think was the name of the. That's what reminded me. The girls in Japanese, I don't know, they look like little kids. I don't know. They look like little girls, and the girl that came out, I was like, all she needed was a lollipop.
Well, the great thing about her, Maki, so it's a kind of story behind her as well, is that she used to be in this kind of young girl group in Japan, and kind of got kicked out because she was kind of so aggressive. And of course, her gimmick is kind of singing and dancing on the way to the ring. And one thing I thought was that the way she was singing and dancing, even before the match started.
Yeah, like that. I mean, that kind of like killed it for me a little bit because I'm like, you're playing to the crowd. I want to see you wrestle. I want to see what you bring to the table. And watching her and Riho go at it, it was like watching two little girls fight. So, but it was not. It wasn't a bad match though. It wasn't a bad match at all.
Like I said, we're getting to the action. She also had an 18-hour flight the day before traveling from Japan. So I think
I got to give her credit for that because they did mention she had 44 hours before that. She was in some tournament. Well, I think it was a tag team tournament. And then she had the 18-hour flight. It was, oh, my God. That's crazy.
And then singing and dancing and then expected to have a match as well. It's crazy. But we see a brief back and forth between Baker and Rio. The Doctor bowed out the ring, avoiding a showdown with a familiar foe, Rosa, and tagging Ito into the bout. Rosa and her exchanged jarring strikes for Rosa dropped her face first into the top turnbuckle. From there, she delivered the wheelbarrow slam, driving Rio into Ito for a near fall. Rio was then worked on by the heels. Rosa received a tag from Rio after several moments, exploded into it, teeing off both opponents. She delivered a butterfly suplex to Baker and had the senton for a near fall. Baker recovered, delivered a sling blade to Rosa, and this time followed with a headbutt for a near fall of her own. Again, apparently she's got one of the hardest heads, has Maki Ito as well.
I was crying. I was like, she's just going sideways doing a headbutt. I was like, what the heck?
We get all four competitors land a signature offense, including the Super Delphin-inspired Tornado DDT by Ito. Again, she was really impressed in this one. We get a double headbutt, left both Rio and Ito reeling. Baker tagged in, delivered an air raid crash for 2. Rosa entered the match, and after Baker crashed into Rebel, he scored the win with the Death Valley driver. Rio wipes Ito out on the ringside, and Rebel interfered yet again, this time blasting Rosa with a crutch to the head, allowing Baker to pick up the pin for victory. What were your thoughts in the first match?
Look, match was good. It just kills me when I see Thunder Rosa getting pinned because of outside interference. The match was pretty good. I mean, I think in the first 15 minutes of the match, it was more like a little bit of like comedy-like with Ito and the way which she was doing. But otherwise, ring-wise, work-wise in the ring, it was pretty good. It wasn't bad. I mean, I think honestly, this is one of the best buy-in matches they had in a long time. I think usually it took about mostly like 20-something minutes for the buy. They were smart this time. They did not made the match 15 minutes, the last 15 minutes of the show. They expanded it, but the match was pretty good. I mean, it pretty much sets up probably another showdown between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. I mean, they are going to wrestle each other again on Wednesday, I think in a six-man tag or 6-woman tag. But I want to see Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker in a cage match just to get, just to close out that feud, because it's been twice Thunder Rosa has gotten beaten because either outside interference with Reva or Rebel, it's supposed to be. But now this time was with a crutch. So, but overall match was pretty good,
Well, we'll get onto the score in a minute, but just want to say, didn't they have that weird buy-in match that I think we both watched where it was in a dentist's office as well with Britt Baker?
But that was because Britt Baker probably wasn't even ready to get in the ring. Remember, she had that injury I think this time last year. So I think that's why when she actually started going back into the ring, she was, I look at it now. Before she had that great match with Thunder Rosa, she was very, very gingerly in the ring when she used to throw her kicks. It wasn't as crisp as she did when she wrestled Thunder Rosa the first time. So, yeah, I mean, but this buy-in was not bad. This is one of the best buy-in matches they had.
Yeah, it's an improvement from what we saw before, but this felt long. But I'm not complaining because it's great to see the 4 talented women in action. And like I said, you could argue about all 4 being put in a prominent position. I know how big a fan you are of Thunder Rosa as well. Tony did say on commentary this is one of the greatest rivalries today with Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. I don't think it is, because I don't think it's been given. It's not on the level kind of being treated as such just yet.
Well, it's better than any. I think if you look at the division right now, those two, when they go at it, they go at it. I think it's one of the best rivalry right now. Because I mean, if you think about it, the division don't have any rivalries. You know what I'm saying? They don't have any long-term rivalry. At first, it was the rivalry they had between Riho and Nyla Rose at one point. was all right, but it was more, if you think about the story, it was like David versus Goliath type of thing. The Sheeta versus Nyla Rose, that was a good rivalry, which I think they are now reliving it again. And so right now, the Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker is the best thing they have. I mean, I like it. I mean, I don't know if everybody else likes it, but I do.
I don't think it's like you said, maybe in the women's division, but I think Tony is saying in wrestling, and I don't think
No.
it's kind of at that level. But anyway, score-wise, what are you going to give that out of
5? That match, I give it a 3. A 3, maybe 3.5, because I think the first 15 minutes of the match, and I wrote this down. They kind of like were doing too much of, like comedy, like Ito was like playing to the crowd, and I was like, okay. It wasn't until like the 15-minute mark that's when Britt Baker came in and started cheating, and they started attacking. I believe it was Rio. They putting the boots on. So it didn't really get that real physical until like the 15-minute mark. So I think it could, if they would have started with the physical stuff within the 15-minute mark, I think I would have probably gave it a 4 or 4.5. But I give it a 3.
You give it a 3. I'm going to give it a 3.5 because, like you said, I think this was a really good way to start the action-wise. The WNR podcast went up against the Chokeslam Report. Both went Rio and Thunder, but of course with the change we didn't know about that, so we start off with no points each. And poll wise, we asked everybody, of course, on Twitter. 52% went Rio and Thunder, so of course that was misinformation as well. And then after that we get more about the main event, then running through the card, and then the main show starts properly. We get a nice tribute to Jim Crockett Jr., age 76, who sadly passed away. This is a guy, I mean, it's difficult to explain, and we'll just do it quickly now. What kind of legend this guy was to maybe people that don't know.
Well, Jim Crockett, I mean, because his father was a big promoter back in the 60s and 70s, but Jim Crockett was responsible, a lot of responsible when maybe the 1985 to the 87, about that time, that's when the Four Horsemen were born back in NWA. They were called back then before they became WCW. He made a lot of money, but he also made a big mistake of, having 2 Lear jets and traveling in private jets. And that's what happened. That's what happened when he had to sell it to Ted Turner and it became WCW. But Jim Crockett promotion, the Mid-Atlantic area back in the United States in the 80s was very big. That's when Ric Flair made his name. The Andersons, Ole and Arn, Tully Blanchard, Barry Windham, Dusty Rock, could go on and on here. But Jim Crockett was very big in promoting his NWA in the North Carolinas and the Carolinas, Virginia, Baltimore area. That's where the War Games were born under him. I mean, this man is legendary, and it's sad that he passed away at age 76, but his name is cemented in the wrestling history. So, this guy, it was one of the best promoters. It's just, like everybody else, they get caught up with the limelight of money, and he didn't know how to manage his money, and he ended up selling to Ted Turner with WCW. And he bought the Jim Crockett promotions from Jim Crockett. I also remember Jim Crockett also bought Bill Watts out when they used to have the Mets out, and then it became Universal Wrestling Federation in '87. So he bought that out. So but it was when he bought that out, just a year later, he ended up selling to Ted Turner. But Jim Cornette. Jim Crockett will always. Jim Cornette was part of that also.
But I'm saying if he's passed away this week, then that is amazing. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Jim Cornette is just a nutcase. But Jim Crockett will always be in the history of professional wrestling.
Yeah, that he will be missed. I think as well, we talk about like an advent of Starrcade, the kind of first mega event, even before WrestleMania.
1983, yeah.
Yeah, and of course now kind of the AEW people look at it as the kind of WCW of the present day, so to speak. So it's nice to kind of go into pay-per-view and pay tribute to that. But it's Sunday night, and you know what that means. JR's voice sounds like shit.
Yes. I was like, am I listening to this man right? He sounds hoarse. What the hell? Sounded horrible.
It was bad. But because of Chokeslam low with AEW, I think the pay-per-views get me a little bit more excited because obviously it's not one a month. You kind of get a little bit of build. So I was kind of looking forward to this one, and we get the fireworks. We're hyping the most dangerous match in AEW history. We get no opening promo, but we do get Judas in my mind as the AEW Tag Team Championship match. Young Bucks versus Chris Jericho and MJF start off. This was an interesting way to start. Of course, we'll get onto the match in a minute, but just through positioning, because I kind of classed this as a kind of semi-main event, so to speak.
Yeah, that threw me off because I figured like they'll probably start the Casino Battle Royal or the Tag Team Battle Royal. That's what I figured they're gonna start that off, or they're gonna start with the Miro versus Kip Sabian. Miro and Kip Sabian versus Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor. But no, they started it off with a bang. They were not playing. So, to me, I always say when you start a pay-per-view, you got to set a tone. And AEW figured, well, let's set up the tone. Remember, now AEW has fans in there. So, it may not be a lot, but they're setting up the tone. I think that the way they did this was to set up the tone of the pay-per-view and get the crowd hyped up, for the rest of the show.
Oh, without a doubt. We'll get on to the match. And driven by revenge, the Young Bucks took matches early and often. I will say the referee was useless. The amount of kind of DQ situations with the guys being in there for too long or count outs, just make it a kind of no count out DQ match because you're nullifying the referee. I don't know what you think. This is one of my kind of pet peeves when it comes to AEW.
Because they're doing stuff and I sometimes wonder what the hell the referee is doing. Is he eating popcorn or something? Yeah. Because they take it to outside, they do stuff that's disqualification stuff, and it's logic. It's a lot of things has to be logic. But I guess they figure, well, the referee is gonna be very lenient because this is like the Young Bucks trying to get even with MJF and Jericho, MJF being the a-hole that he is, and trying to get even for what it did to Papa Buck. So maybe they figured, well, the referee's not gonna be a big epical part of the storyline here, so he probably backs off, whatever. But yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes you be like, that's supposed to be a disqualification. It's like sometimes the referee is not even part of the match.
Well, she was just kind of looking on. I was going, oh, you enjoying it, are you? I thought you meant to be officiating. But anyway, back to the action. We get heads up play by Jericho, bringing Nick Jackson back in head first into the ring apron, turning the tide in the Inner Circle's favour. Wardlow made his presence felt on a couple of occasions. Now Jericho then retained control of the bout. They beat down Matt Jackson. Of course, his wife was looking on at ringside. There was a double DDT on the heels during the match, and it looked like it broke Jericho's neck, and Jericho kind of got up from it, but it looked ever so awkward. I don't know if you noticed it during it. It was during, I think, first Nick's kind of comeback.
They're just, I don't know. So, sometimes these guys be taking bumps, unnecessary bumps, and they don't, I don't know, they fall weird, and then you think like they break their necks. I don't know. These guys, I don't know. It's just sad. Like, to me, it's like you over exaggerating with the bumps,
Yeah.
And that area where they have, especially around the stage area, that's very kind of dangerous because you got to think there's a set of steps in that little corner, and I'm like, sometimes these guys be taking bumps in there. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, we have seen it a couple of times, people tripping there, but we get hot tag to Nick, spark the babyface comeback, which included a destroy pile driver to MJF for 2. The Bucks channeled Impact Wrestling's Motor City Machine Guns with a made in Detroit for a near fall. The Heels answered in the form of a lion tamer by Jericho and Nick, and then Matt tagged in, and this was a really cool spot because Jericho simply transitioned into the Walls of Jericho onto the Fresher Man, which you're kind of thinking, how are you going to do that? And yeah, fair play.
No, but you know what's the best? I don't know if that part happened before. Jericho went for a Judas effect, and I never seen anybody do this. He went to the Judas effect, and Matt super kicked it. You didn't see that part?
Yeah. No, exactly that. I was about to say that was the kind of the little things like that. And you're going, oh, so that's why he's not kind of tempted it again because he's already kind of had it targeted. And like you said, there was little things in this match that you could just kind of see happening. You see MJF scoring a series of near falls on Matt. The Codebreaker Interceptor was sweet as well, where you see Jackson coming across and then Jericho. He kicked out of everything, including a baseball shot to the back by Jericho. MJF's power driver failed to put him down, much to the dismay of the heels. Matt tagged Nick back in. You get stereo crossbody blocks, wiping the challengers out, but Nick could not put Jericho down. Wardlow attempted to interfere, but Ed and Aaron Judas effect by the champion. The Bucks delivered a BTE trigger for a near fall on Jericho, but MJF broke it up. The Bucks then uncorked a series of super kicks for the challengers and finished Jericho off with the Meltzer driver for the successful title defense. What were your thoughts?
The match itself was a very good way to start the pay-per-view. I expected, because and this is what this is what happens with me when I start watching the BTE show and the Sammy Guevara blogs. I thought, and plus of what happened last week on the Go Home show, where the Young Bucks attacked Jericho and MJF, and Santana Ortiz were involved, and then they got put through a table. So I figured, like, well, okay, Santana Ortiz are going to get involved because they said in the promo on Wednesday that Inner Circle will cross lines. So in other words, what they were saying is, we were the one who beat up your father. MJF and Jericho just decided to plant his face in the back of the truck. So I was expecting them to kind of come out, but they didn't. But overall, the match was pretty good. I don't know what's going to happen with Jericho and MJF, even though they say they're planning to do changes coming up this Wednesday. But the match overall was a great way to start the show. It pretty much everything that I expected. It was hard hitting. You know, you got the MJF and Jericho, being the a-holes. You got Wardlow coming in, interfering. Like I said, I love the part where Jericho went for the Judas effect and Matt super kicked it. I never seen anybody do that. But I thought it was over. I thought it was over when MJF hit the heat seeker on him, on Matt. I thought it was over, but he got out of it.
Did you find Jericho keeping up with the pace? Because it's one of these questions that a lot of people will get angry about.
He's slow, right? He's slow. I mean,
he's catching his breath.
Yeah, what'd you expect? I mean, the guy's 49 years old. Like, he does. I mean, I don't think the match should have lasted that long, for him. But I mean, I don't look at that, because I figure, look, if he could go on whether he's tired or not, he's still doing it. He's 49 years old. He's not as quick as before. He has gained a lot of weight. That's not the Jericho that there was in WWE. But I mean, he's trying to keep up. But you're in there with the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are a quick tag team, and and Jericho's just going to try to cheat, whatever. But I mean, it was pretty good. I don't want to, I didn't see a donut popping out of him, but
I'm about to say, he used to be a Jerichoholic. We don't want to turn into like a chocoholic, do we? But we got to be careful. We get I've seen a lot of spot calling in that one as well, especially MJF. But again, maybe it's little things that we're noticing that maybe other people have. I don't think the Bucks can have a bad match.
Yeah, but you remember, they got a lot of people are going to complain about everything now, because a lot of people are still upset that Jericho is in AEW, and they're going to try to, talk bad about him. He's too fat. He's too slow, this and that, but I mean, he's trying to keep himself in good shape for a guy 49 years old, still doing what he's doing. I mean, he still could do that lion salt. He still does it lovely for a guy that big, because he's gotten big. It could still do it. I mean, I still give him credit.
Oh, well, I'd rather watch the Jericho match than the Goldberg match, JR used slobber knocker on the commentary again, which is kind of, his voice is going in desperation. He's like, I'll bring out the old slobber knocker. Out of 5 for me, like I said, I didn't mind the match. I thought it was a great way to start the show. So I'm going to give it a 3 3/4 out of 5, because I thought it was a really good match.
I'm going to give it a 4, because, again, I expected everything. It was a little longer than I expected, but the story itself, what it showed in the match, made it better. So and then like I said, Jericho still could do it. And of course MJF is an asshole, but that's what made the match good. Now where they're gonna go from here, I'll give it a 4 though. I'll give it a 4.
Yeah. Well, prediction-wise, we WNR went for MJF and Jericho. The Chokeslam Report yourself went the Young Bucks. You take a 1-0 lead at this moment in time, but of course plenty to play for. On the polls, Frankie Levere says the Bucks with Sammy helping them, like you kind of mentioned with Guevara coming in there. Nick Celtic said MJF and Jericho, so me and him were both wrong. So we go on to the Tag Team Casino Battle Royale. And I love a match with so many rules. So the rules for the Casino Tag Team Royale are as follow. Order of entry is selected by a lottery. 2 tag teams will start the match. Every 90 seconds, a new team will enter the match. Individual eliminations occur when a competitor is thrown on the top rope. Both reach touch the floor. Tag teams eliminated with both competitors being ruled out. Match continues since only one. The winning team will earn a shot. Wow, that is a lot of rules. Do you think they had to make it so confusing?
Well, they're always going to do that. I mean, I already know what they're going to do. They at least the one thing they don't do, and WWE used to do this when they used to do tag teams, battle royals, was if one guy gets eliminated, both members are. So this made it more interesting because then, the ring is not getting empty out so quick. So, but anyway, we're going to talk about this, but there was only one interesting part of this whole Casino Tag Team Royale. And I already predicted who was going to win it anyway before the pay-per-view started because of a Wednesday match. So, but, I was happy that something happened in there that I hope to God that they follow next Wednesday. Oh, this Wednesday, actually.
Like I said, we get into the action. The Dark Orders, Alan 5 Angels and Prez 10 Vance kicked off the match with Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall. Natural Nightmares, Santana Ortiz joined the fray next, eliminating Angels. Matt and Mike Sydal were out next, followed by Stu Grayson and Evil Uno. Mike Sydal joined Angels, the next man eliminated, as Dark Order dominated the action in the ring. Santana rocked the opposition low, regaining some momentum for the Inner Circle's entrance. The Gun Club's Austin and Colton led to next and waited little time for a Paige from their father's Billy Playbook with picture-perfect drop kicks. Now, I have seen the Gun Club before, but I swear, and I sound like an old man, they are the spitting image of Billy Gunn.
Yes.
I actually thought it was Billy for a second.
Yeah, I think is it Austin Gunn? I think Austin looks just like his father, but a shorter version. When he smiles, it's just like Billy. Same smile. I already knew it was his son, but yeah, I just don't think they don't get pushed like they're supposed to though.
There's never going to be an argument about a DNA test in that household.
Oh yeah, no. You don't have to go to court, so.
Yeah. Oh, right. Well, we see Santana eliminated Matt Sydal with a pump kick, knocking him to the floor. Sydal brothers eliminated. That's good that they've spent their time in AEW. Peter Avalon and Cesar Bonani enters the match next, teeing off for the Gun Club. Cesar is so green. And how is Peter in this match? I mean, we've talked about him. How did he sneak his way in?
Poor Peter Avalon. But listen, I mean, they got him teaming up with Cesar Bonani. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got to get him somewhere. I mean, they got Peter Avalon. I feel so bad for the guy. He's one of the first top guys that they picked up before they did this whole AEW stuff. But, I mean, he's entertaining. I mean, he gives you that hope that he's going to win a match, Now, Cesar Bonani, I seen him a couple of times. That guy is huge. That guy's tall. He got a lot of potential. But they got him teaming up with Peter Avalon. Peter Avalon needs to wrestle by himself. He's supposed to be. I'd rather have Peter Avalon in the mid-card level where he's going for the TNT title.
I think that's fair. I mean, like I said, we saw a lot of talent on the show. We see the Varsity Blondes, Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison hit the ring like a ball of energy, targeting Bononi. Austin Gunn dropped Avalon with famous and sent him packing over the top rope to the floor. The Gun Club continued to roll, attempted to dump Bononi. Marshall eliminated the Gun Club for jumping over the top rope himself and walking out on part of the Rose, essentially ending the Natural Nightmares. And you have said this from a look that was on Dynamite a few weeks back.
Oh yeah, because when Lee Johnson teamed up with Cody, and he mentioned that he was thankful for Cody, um, Dustin Rhodes, and even Brandy Rose. QT Marshall just gave him this look like, what about me? But and they caught up to it. So watching QT Marshall get rid of the Gun Club, and when he did it at first, I was like, okay, he got rid of the Gun Club. But then I saw Dustin Rhodes, and I remember that the Gun Club is part of the Nightmare family. I was like, oh shoot, he just eliminated guys from. But in a way, I was like, well, this is everybody, this is a battle royal. You're getting a shot for the AEW title. But the part that really caught me was when he eliminated himself, and I know it's pretending, but he spit at Dustin Rhodes. So I'm like, wow, they really, really turned him to a heel. That not that he was already portraying himself as a heel in Sammy Guevara's vlog. Him and Fuego del Sol, they got this little rivalry going on the blog. But the way they did it, it was like, okay, QT Marshall now is a rule breaker, because he spit at. So I'm like, is he going to wrestle Dustin Rhodes first to push that heel turn, or he's going to wrestle Lee Johnson and beat the crap out of Lee Johnson to then either get him to wrestle Cody or Dustin? So this is very interesting. It was very interesting when I saw that, and I was like, oh, wow, he spit at him. I'm like, okay, no. Like, they were not playing turning him heel.
No, like I said, and also, like I said, you called it as well, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. But we get Bear Countries, Bear Boulder, and Bear Bronson entering next, using power and tenacity of Grayson, who was sent to the floor. Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus entered to a huge pop. Jungle Boy sent Ortiz to the floor, followed by Santana, and Luchasaurus finally dumped Bononi. Santana and Ortiz and Avalon and Bononi eliminated. Wow, proud and powerful. Gone.
Yes.
Just
oh,
like
my
that.
God. Let me tell you something. When I saw that, first person that came into my mind, I was like, I hope John is watching this, because he probably going to hear me complain about how they got rid of Proud and Powerful. I'm like, this is one of the best tag teams they had picked up in last 2 years ago, and they get eliminated. I'm like, I can't take it.
Well, I mean, it's crazy. We see Jack Evans with the elimination of Vance Spike not being involved in the match, while Marco Stunt helped eliminate Evil Uno. The Butcher and the Blade of Private Party entered next. The former Dispatching of Rose, followed by SCU's Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian. As Luchasaurus was about to send them both packing Bear Country, eliminated the mask-wearing Big Man, and then Butcher and Blade dumped Bear Country out. I think Bear Country actually looked quite good in this matchup. And then we get Death Triangle's Pac and Ray Phoenix entered in the ring and immediately sent Mark Quinn and the Blade to the floor. John Silver and Alex Reynolds entered to a thunderous ovation, eliminated Isaiah Cassidy. I'll tell you what, Private Party should have stayed on Impact, Daniels and Kazarian eliminated by Butcher. So Daniels and Kazarian getting eliminated. And, of course, this was brought up on commentary saying if they had lost their next tag match or lost their next match, they would quit as a team. But this wasn't counting.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? It's logic. It's true, because it's not an actual tag team match. It's a battle royal tag team. It's not a match. So even if they lose or they don't win, the match, at least the storyline where if they lose a tag team and stays still intact. You don't want to break up a team in a battle royal, because then it's gonna be like, wait a minute, you gotta use logic. You know what I'm saying? So that part, I mean, I'm glad that the commentary team made it clear. So at least, that's what I love about AEW. They make sure they're gonna tell you, oh, this doesn't count. They're not gonna tell you like what WWE does, that they'll tell you something one week and the following week you'll be like, wait a minute, I thought they said this. So, but I mean, I like what they did. They let everybody know that SCU, they have another loss. If they lose another match, they will break up. Would this count? And I guess they made it clear enough that it probably won't count because it's not an actual match.
Right.
So.
Well, we get Phoenix and Pac's teams remained intact with Jungle Boy and Silver represent their respective teams. That would be a fantastic fatal four-way match. We see Silver and Pac teeing off one another with jarring strikes. Former getting the best of his opponent with hard kick to the chest. Pac used Silver's momentum. It was just sick, wasn't it? You can see the red marks on Pac's chest, and that's kind of the action that he was taking. He delivered a snaps German suplex. Silver stayed off elimination for Pac, but Phoenix has the kick in packing. The running along the rope kick that he does is my move of the year at this moment in time. So,
I'm telling you, Phoenix. The only thing with Phoenix that I have a problem with, which we probably will mention it now in this match, is that he does high risk and he comes at 100 miles per hour when he does those high risks, and he put himself in situations where he's gonna get hurt bad one day. But
that running,
he's a master of that tightrope walk.
What official?
Yeah, he's a master at that. He's great when he just does that walk and then just PK smacking your head with it. I mean, that's one of the best moves, and I think that's best move of the year. I mean, I don't know anyone could top that.
He runs faster across the top rope than most, people run normally. Like it just shouldn't. Talk about the evolution of professional wrestling. You can see it with
There's no one that could do what he does. I seen guys like Lance Archer, tightrope walk. I've seen who else? If Phantasmo does it, but no one walks those tightropes faster than him. Phoenix. No one. There's nobody could do it like him.
Well, Jungle Boy proceeded to use Pac's momentum against him, sending him to the floor in a kind of shock elimination. And then Phoenix, with my second favourite move of the year, that dive through the second. We just talked about it, putting his mind.
Oh my God!
I mean, if they need a speedometer when he comes out of that second, between the second and third row.
But you see how? Listen, this is the second week in a row, and I saw it on Wednesday. I think Wednesday or the week before. He runs so fast. He's coming like at 120 miles per hour to do a two-page suicida, and he jumps and he does a 360, and his quads land on the edge of the railing. I'm like, he's gonna pop a quad on a hamstring sooner or later. This guy is just nuts. But I mean, it's great. It's a great pop when he does it. But I think he's gonna get hurt one of these days with the way he does that. But I mean. He's a great wrestler. I like his whole wrestling skill style.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fantastic. And then another great talent, Jungle Boy, delivered a Poison Rana. Phoenix answered with a rebound kick, a clothesline followed, and Death Triangle earned the win. What were your thoughts on this matchup?
This match, listen, I know a lot of people hate battle royals, and a lot of people complain, I hate battle royals. But the beauty of these battle royals that AEW does on their pay-per-view, most of the time is gonna start a story. Like we saw already with the Nightmare, Nightmare combination, whatever the name was. QT Marshall now is no longer part of the Nightmare family. So now the question is gonna be, is he this Wednesday? Is he gonna wrestle? Either Cody Rhodes not Cody Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes, or is he gonna start feuding with Lee Johnson? That's great. I mean, we saw where Private Powerful is at as far as them losing it. I feel that there's gonna be some type of change where they're gonna leave the inner circle, and I'm predicting it right now because there was rumors going around. Selena Vega will be their manager. I'm saying this right now in your show, okay? I'm saying that. I'm predicting it now. The best part was I already knew that the Death Triangle was going to win it because of the 3-minute match, and I don't even think it was even 3 minutes against two jobbers that they beat like nothing. Now the great part of this battle royal, sometimes you get face off with certain individuals that you will never see them wrestle unless either one of them is a babyface, the other one is heel. The Jungle Boy and Phoenix face off was a great face off. I mean, I wanted it to last a little longer so you can make the battle royal even better. I think overall the whole battle royal was perfect. I mean, I know there was a lot of tag teams and the rules and everything, but this was good. It was a good battle royal to me. That's just my opinion. And I mean, I loved it. I mean, it lived up to the hype. It probably even more.
Well, like I said, Jungle Boy with another great performance, but I didn't think I would enjoy this match as much as I did. And that that ending would have done the Rumble proud. I mean, because you're thinking battle royals, tag teams, and I was just into it. And like I said, the interaction between the two would have been good enough for a Royal Rumble actual match. I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. What are you scoring it?
I'll give it a 4.5 because I mean they were and then that John Silver with Pac, that face off right there. I want to see them wrestle. Matter of fact, there's 2 matchups now that I want to see. I want to see Phoenix against Jungle Boy 1-on-1 and John Silver against Pac. That would be. I think they match up very well.
I love it. Like I said, Fatal 4-Way with those 4 in will steal the show. One thing I did want to say, prediction wise, and I don't know if you might have put the wrong thing down, but here I've got you down as your picks for the winners of the Battle Royale.
Who I had?
Proud and Powerful.
I did? Oh God. I must have been drinking that day.
I don't want to start now. I went Death Triangle because, like you said, it was.
You did went Death Triangle, right? I know. I checked the thing and I said I put Proud and Powerful. Why? And I had Death Triangle in my head, but I said, you know what? Something is telling me go Proud and Powerful because again, I was hoping that they get the win because of this whole because I'm really really invested in this Inner Circle thing. So I'm thinking storyline wise. They become number 1 contenders, and maybe Young Bucks lose the belts to MJF and Jericho, maybe, or the Young Bucks hold on to the belt. Santana Ortiz faces the Young Bucks again, and this time they beat them, causing some friction with the Inner Circle. See, I think real big. So I don't know, but I had Death Triangle on Wednesday. I don't know what happened Saturday.
No. Like I said, it's 1-1 after 3. And like I said, there's plenty to play for still. Polls-wise, we had 2 polls because there's so many bloody tag teams. 50% went for Proud and Powerful on one of the polls. Death Triangle got 33%, Dark Order 31%, Private Party with 29%. The Seidels had 0%.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, because Seidel is not... The brother Mike Seidel, like I said, they talked about he was from DDT, wrestled there with his brother. I never seen them wrestle. This is like the second time I seen them wrestle. And Matt Seidel, the last time I saw Mike Seidel in a tag team was with Ricochet in Japan. So, nobody really is going to be like, okay, yeah, the Seidels, so.
It's a shame they made the trip, really. But anyway, we get an interview with Paul White where he offers a hint as tonight's big signing. Nobody here him. Oh, who could it be? This huge signing by AEW. Anyway, DDP and Al Snow in the crowd because, anyway, up next, the AEW.
That's what I was saying. Like, Diamond Dallas Page looked like someone owed him money for his DDP yoga because he looked pissed. I'm like, and here's the crazy part about the Paul White thing. Paul White said, and they kept this whole thing with the signing. They kept tricking people because he said nobody could outwork him. So now during the week, Kurt Angle was made a video where he was making it look like he was the one who's going to sign. I knew it wasn't Kurt Angle because of what Paul White said on Wednesday when he said is a Hall of Fame worthy person. So I know that Kurt Angle's already in the Hall of Fame. So I knew it was not him. But he did a tease video during the week. So when Paul White said, oh, nobody could outwork him, the only one that I remember that used to have that, the 3 eyes was Kurt Angle. So I said, so it probably is Kurt Angle. So, I mean, then they have Diamond Dallas Page, look like somebody on money and DDP in the crowd. And then Al Snow was there. Don't know why. Maybe he has no job. I don't know.
Well, I think maybe to cheer up DDP, Al Snow could have gave him head. Anyway, the AEW Women's World Championship match is next. It's Hikaru Shida versus Ryo Mizunami. Shida was embarrassed 5 years ago by a very opponent. She is 288 days as champion. We've talked about the women's division an awful lot. Were you excited for this match before I go into it in graphic detail?
Well, at first I wasn't. Because I said, okay, so Shida's wrestling Mizunami, what's the history, whatever. And like I said, the finals of the tournament, I was disappointed because I was going for my girl Thunder Rosa. I'm a big fan of hers now. So now you have this Mitsunami that I really don't know much about, but I remember seeing her at Double or Nothing, and when she wrestled Wednesday, she was playing a lot to the crowd. I'm not a big when it comes to playing to the crowd, but but then they spoke about the history between them too. And once they told the story, the history, where Mitsunami told Cheetah, we could have 100 matches, you still won't beat me. So now I'm like, okay, so now I'm listening to the story. I'm like, okay, so I really want to see how this goes. And I think both ladies in this match, I think they gel well together because they know each other. So I think that's what made it a good match.
Well, let's get into it. Early ear-ringing chops set the tone for the match, as did Shida's ferocious, hard-hitting offense. The veteran Mizunami answered. Shida rocked a charge of Mizunami with a kick, then folded her up by driving her head first into the entrance ramp. We get a suplex back in the ring, followed as Shida scored a near fall. She then rocked her forward with a forearm, to which Mizunami answered with a barrage of headbutts. A clothesline followed before the challenger executed a devastating modified Death Valley driver for a near fall of her own. Shida then returned fire, delivering a Tomoshi. Twisted smiles painted the faces of both competitors as they dared the other to unload with another strike. Mizunami delivered a Uranagi followed by a spear. The challenger headed up top for a guillotine leg drop, but Shida kicked out too. And Excalibur did a superb job, not only on this match here, but the women's tournament. Of course, we'll go into more details at the weekend. But that was the move that not only beat Aya Kong, but also beat beat Rose as well in the match. And I think to when you putting that out there, and it kind of means more, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the girl used the guillotine leg drop from the top rope. I mean, I was surprised when she hit it. I thought it was over. I thought she was done because she came down and it's a beautiful guillotine leg drop. It's not sloppy. It's not, she missed up by 2 inches and almost hurt it. It was good. I thought she was going to lose. I thought Shida was going to lose the belt. When she got out of Tsuka, I was surprised.
Right, and then Shida rocked Mizunami with a straight jacket suplex, but opponent fired up and delivered a lariat to the back of the head. Shida recovered and delivered 2 Falcon arrows, but couldn't score the win. The strikes were vicious at this point as well. The competitors continued. Do you know what I mean? Like they talk about laying it in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She hit her with at least 10 knee shots in the back of the head and the front of the head.
It's just, the competitors continued to score near falls, each coming within inches of earning the victory, and then Shida delivered another Tomoshi, but Mizunami just barely rolled her shoulder off the mat to prevent his feet. Shida added one last shot and put her opponent down and knocked out. This was unbelievable. We'll get onto that in a second, because after the match, Nyla Rose, Vicky Guerrero, Britt Baker, Rebel attacked the combatants until Thunder Rosa made the save. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
This match, let me tell you something. The one thing about Shida, which I give her so much credit. This girl, you see her and you think, she doesn't have the strength. This girl, Falcon Arrow, Mitsunami twice. I mean, it didn't surprise me because she did that to Nyla Rose a couple of times when they wrestle. I mean, Rio showed me a lot what she's made of. Again, those guillotine leg drops from the top ropes were perfect. And the match itself, overall, pretty much showed the story. There he goes. And I love how the commentating, especially Excalibur. I love Excalibur because he knows so much history when it comes to a wrestling match. He spoke about how when they first met each other, Rio beat the crap out of Shida, and now this was like redemption for Shida because they wrestled each other before and then they kept draws, time limit draws and all that every time they face each other. So this match was good. I mean, it told a story and let's see where it goes. I mean, Rio really impressed me in this match. I guess when I saw her Wednesday and playing to the crowd, whatever, and again, it all comes down to chemistry when you wrestle your opponent. I guess probably Nyla Rose and her was, I guess, the first time they ever met each other. But her and Shida, man, they rocked the house. I liked it.
We'll talk about commentators. There's a lot of commentators that can take away from a match, but very few that add to it, and I think we see it at Excalibur. These two actually teamed up together at the very first Double or Nothing event as well, I think on the buy-in. So that was interesting kind of history that they've got. But women's wrestling has arrived on AEW pay-per-view now. We're actually getting it. And you can see it now with the performance of these two women. This kind of hard-hitting style that's kind of different to what most people think they are going to get. And then you throw in people like Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, and there's definitely potential to go down that road with that. I thought it was a hell of a matchup as well. What are you going to score that out of 5?
I'll give that 4.5. I'm gonna be honest. This I sat down. I enjoyed this match, especially me. I'm a big Japanese wrestling fan, and these women actually brought it in. It was hard hitting, especially the last part. I mean, Sheeta hit this woman with 10 knee shots. I was counting it, and this woman kept getting up. I gotta give Rio her props, because even though she lost with dignity. Like, she took almost 10 knee shots, front, back, I don't know, and the woman, and Sheeta could have put her away. So she finally did after the last knee shot. But it's 4.5.
Like I said, and the thing is, I'm going to give it a 4.25. But there were so many different things. You had the kind of her pretending to pull on the rope, and then the chops in the corner from Rio, which kind of looked a bit silly. And then you kind of get the viciousness of the match later, which shows that you can, to be multifaceted, so to speak, in a professional wrestling matchup. And it's just great stuff. Like I said, 4.25, 4.5 there. Prediction wise, WNR went Sheeta, Chokeslam Report went Rio.
Who won Rio? You?
You did.
I did?
Yes.
Oh.
You were definitely drunk.
I think I did Rio, because I think at that time I'm thinking, well, Sheeta has had that belt for so long, So I figure, maybe they want a change of a champ, But I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking on Saturday.
Like I said, after 4, it is 2-1 and plenty to go. Sheeta got 86%. Jacob Grundy wanted Rio. And then we get a preview for Double or Nothing. Of course, AEW's next pay-per-view. That is May 30th. And our next match is Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor versus Miro and Kip Sabian. Of course, we've seen some of the build-up on Dynamite with this. Before we get into the match, what are your thoughts on Miro and Orange Cassidy, so to speak?
Listen, I'm loving this whole Miro thing. He's becoming Rusev again, and the way the match started. I mean, at first it looked silly the way they're starting this feud. But remember, Trent was part of that before he got hurt. The Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor thing, they're playing comedy stuff, and like they're poking the bear. And now you're seeing Miro, the Miro that everybody expects him to be. And once you speak about the match, I got my opinion of what's going to happen with this, because I was really shocked of how things ended. So,
Well, let's get into it. Yeah, let's get into it now then. So Miro and Kip Sabian, they attacked Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy prior to the tag team match. The unstoppable Miro sending Taylor crashing face first into a glass window backstage. We know he did a blade job with that, but still, it's a dangerous bump to take.
No, but he got cut with the glass because he tried to block it with his forearm, and that's why the blood was coming from his arm, not from his head. And then the blood started coming out from his nose, because I think Miro hit him, kicked him in the nose. Yeah. Well, the blood was coming from his forearm.
We see the gutsy Taylor demanding the match be started and demonstrated grittiness as he fended off both the best man and Superbad until Cassidy made his presence felt inside Daly's Palace. Cassidy obliterated Miro with an orange punch, but quickly found himself on the defensive against Sabian. Taylor re-entered the match and joined his partner in working over Superbad until Miro rocked the Kentucky Gentleman with a right hand. Cassidy fared well against Miro until accidentally wiping out Penelope Ford. Miro showed little concern for his partner's wife. Instead, he threw Kip back in, told him to make the tag, and then flattened Cassidy with a roundhouse kick and applying the accolade finisher to Taylor for the submission victory. What were your thoughts on this matchup? Miro looked great.
Miro looked great. I mean, he don't call it the accolades no more. He calls it the game over. I love how he set it up. It's like he sat on his back and made sure Taylor looked at his forearm and his fist and telling him, look, it's coming and you're seeing it right now. But I love the story was what the ending of the story, and like I said, I wanted to make my comment on this because it shows you right now that Rusev or Miro will no longer be partners with Kip Sabian. I see it already because, he showed no regards. The Bonani for crashed into, was it Taylor he crashed into?
Yeah, through Taylor.
And she got hurt. And Sabian, you see him after the match, said, my wife got hurt. And he was like, he didn't, I think at one point he even tagged himself in, or it made.
Yeah, he threw Kip in to. He said threw him in, thinking, what's going on here?
Yeah. So
and like you said, the little look as well with Miro looking at him, and kind of going, looks like he was going to attack, and he just grabbed Kip in close, scruffled his hair. Like you said, we need that split sooner rather than later, don't we?
Well, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. If it doesn't happen this week, it'll probably happen the next week. But it's going to end bad for Kip Sabian because Miro is just being a monster now. This is what everybody wanted, right? So now you got Miro right now. You ain't got he's the best man. He's the best man in AEW. Who he's going to hurt a lot of people. You got the old Rusev back.
The thing is, though, I think this was more of a Dynamite match than it was a pay-per-view match. But I think because of Miro, because it's kind of exposure, I think this is the kind of start of something, and I think that's the reason it was kind of put there.
Well, if you think about it, look at the way the pay-per-view started, right? The pay-per-view started with the Young Bucks and MJF, right? And then you had that great Casino Tag Team Rumble, right? And then you go and add up Shida versus Masanimi or Masanilma, whatever her name is. And so they threw in that match. I mean, we knew there was going to be in the pay-per-view. They threw in that match to just have everybody calm down a little bit. Okay, we're going to pull through this match. This match is probably going to last 6 or 7 minutes because we still have, other matches. I think after that was the big money match with Paige and Hardy, and the ladder match, and then the explosion match. No, there was more than that. It was like there was other matches. So I think they put that there to calm down the fans a little bit, bring down their level a little bit, because you don't want to wear out the crowd. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, they got crowd in there. So yeah. I didn't see nothing bad of having them in there. Yes, it's a Dynamite match, but why not throw it in there just to calm the people down? Because already you had 3 great matches in that pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think that's out. But then again, this is the problem. I'm going to get onto a little bit just about the length of the show as well. But I don't think AEW know what to do with Orange Cassidy either, because it was 1 year ago at Revolution that he had that breakout performance against Pac. And then since then, of course, a feud with Jericho. And then I'm kind of not sure what's going on. But out of 5, I'm going to give that a 3 out of 5. It was a standard matchup, and it was about Miro. What are you gonna give that?
Yeah, I give it a 3. But with Orange Cassidy, I think what they did was, like I said, Jericho tried to, especially when he had that match with Pac. That's one of the best matches he ever had, even though he lost. But again, he's a mid-card guy. He's a guy who probably could go after the TNT belt. You're not gonna get anything more than that from him. So and he's still part of the Best Friends, tag team. But him by himself as a single competitor, that's the limit he's going. He's not going to go for the world title. He's not going to go for world tag team title. He probably could go for a TNT title. Now, he's more like a comedic talent. So,
well, prediction wise, we both went Miro and Kip this time. So it's 3-2 after 5. Poll wise, 50-50. I'm not really sure why. Maybe the polls were broken. And then we get Chris Jericho and MJF interviewed backstage. Chris takes issue with the ideas that they failed. He admits they lost and claims the inner circle is depleted now. But they're an army and they'll change their battle plan. They're going to have a war council on Wednesday, and MJF agrees that it's time for a change. The way they did it was MJF saying, yes, there's time for a change. Looking at Jericho, and it's going to happen. You mentioned it earlier as well. Are they teasing, or are we going to see the kind of end of the inner circle come Dynamite?
Right now, what I'm hoping that doesn't happen is that Sammy Guevara comes back and Jericho gets kicked out of the inner circle. I just want this group to break up already. The reason I want that is because, again, Proud and Powerful's in there. They should be the tag team. And remember, the tag team, the one who came up with the idea of having becoming a tag team was Jericho. You know what I'm saying? And I think it was supposed to be Hager and Jericho at one point. Then MJF started teaming up with Jericho. So I feel it could be that Sammy Guevara comes back and confronts Jericho, and Jericho thinks that the Inner Circle is going to jump him, and Sammy Guevara turns on Jericho, and they kick out Jericho out of the Inner Circle. It could be that.
Well, it's going to be interesting, and it will bring viewers, like I said, to Dynamite Wednesday. But back to the pay-per-view, we get the big money match, Hangman Page versus Matt Hardy. I've really enjoyed this story, and actually missed him switching out the contract originally in the bar, because I remember us talking about this, and I didn't see. I must have been paying more attention to Matt Hardy than I was to Page, because he did switch the contracts at that point, which doesn't make him look like a fucking idiot, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I was like, how you did not see him change the fucking contract? Like, I don't understand it. Like, but it was good though, because again, this is I think this whole Page and Hardy feud, this is not going to end here. This is going to get bigger now. They were supposed to have a 10-man tag team this past Wednesday. I don't know what happened. It was supposed to be Dark Order members with Page against Private Party and H2O and Hardy, but I don't know what happened. They made it a tag team. So, but yeah, this is not over. This is not over at all. So,
well, it's not even started yet, so let's get on to the action. Like we talk about him all over the place, beating him up with a straight punch to the ring post. Had Matt target it, looking to take away Page's buckshot Larry. We see the stairs used to squash the hand, which was a really good bump. And then we get he stomped on the hand, he bit it, he twisted the fingers of his opponents, he continues his onslaught. Page scored a near fall with a crucifix roll up and added the Death Valley driver for another. Hardy nearly earned a count-out victory as Page struggled to recover on the arena floor, but the babyface fought his way back into the squared circle. His onslaught bringing Page off the top rope with a powerbomb for 2. Page finally built some momentum for himself with a picture-perfect moonsault off the top rope, wiping Hardy out to the floor, and then Private Party made their presence felt as Page began to roll. I was quite worried about this, but it's all right because the Cowboy deposited him to the floor and it allowed Dark Order to make the save and wipe out Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn. The Misfit faction then caught Page on the apron and allowing him to push him back in, hitting the buckshot lariat for the win. After the match, Page embraced the group in a big hug. First off, yes, Page is Dark Order. I mean, just look at little Johnny's face. Look how happy Johnny is right now.
You think he's part of Dark Order?
What a feel-good moment. Oh, come on. He joined in with the hug. It's everything's fine.
Yeah, but
Let me dream.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, that everybody wants Adam Page to be the leader of the Dark Order. I mean, I don't know, every week I see them with them. I really want him to join them. I don't know why, but I just really want him to join them. This match was pretty good. It was decent. And I mean, the storyline behind it, I mean, again, you had to expect Private Party to come out and do the thing. And Private Party looks you could tell compared to when they first started working with Matt Hardy, now they're real stuck up, you know, very sophisticated, type. But this match was pretty good. I mean, it was everything. I liked the story where Hangman Page hurt his hand. Matt Hardy worked on the hand for a while, trying to get the buckshot lariat, out of the match. But I mean, it was everything that I expected. So it was a pretty good match.
Well, the thing is, Page is a really good worker, but I think one of the things that he's got going for him is that there's something just likable about him. And when, the whole Shawn Michaels thing of a babyface being beaten down, you feel sorry for him. And I'm actually behind Page, and I don't know if that's why I want him to join the Dark Order and everything's fine, but he's definitely got that about him. And this feud has helped Matt get more comfortable. But I still felt this was a very WWE style matchup. If that
really?
Makes sense? I just felt it was more kind of like the way Matt was just going about his business up until the last couple of minutes, up until when maybe Private Party came out. Matt is doing that style.
Yeah, when you see Matt, sometimes, it does. Sometimes he does little things. You'll be like, this looks like WWE, But I guess that's his style right now. I mean, I didn't see it that way, but I mean, I don't know. It to me, I think the way he worked it. I mean, I like evil Matt Hardy. I think the match was pretty good. I ain't seen no problem with it. I mean, Paige, forget it. Paige, him and Paige. I mean, I've been following since he was in Ring of Honor before he became Bullet Club and all that, and he always was a good worker. I remember him versus Frankie Kazarian in a strap match in Ring of Honor, which was a crazy match between them two. You know, it goes to show you that Paige is going to be the future AEW champion. The question is when, because
he's going to beat Omega, and
yeah.
we've talked about this before.
You think? Yeah, that's
I
what
I mentioned this last year, and the story, the way it is at the moment with Paige, is the fact that he came up short in a tag team match with Omega. He's always been kind of the loser, and he's going to be the guy that finally comes true, and it's going to be a hell of a story. And the way they're booking at the moment, it's looking like it's leading up to that point. It's going to take time.
Here's the problem. So now Omega is supposed to be this belt collector, right? And I think they pretty much, because of the pandemic and all that stuff, they're laying a lot of stuff. Again, this is one of the reasons why I want Moves to win the belt. I mean, now I hear the TNA belt is a world title belt now. So if you're gonna start this belt collector storyline with Omega, then I like what they're doing with Paige, where he's beating mid-card guys, but they're tough and it's hard matches, whatever. But if you're gonna do it, you got to make sure that if he's gonna beat Omega, the place for him to beat Omega is at All Out. That's their summer show. That's like the SummerSlam. All Out is the place where Paige wins the belt. But right now, it's like the whole storyline right now with Omega is kind of being slowed down.
Yeah, but I think there's a longer play with Paige in mind. Anyway, back to the match at hand. What are you going to score that out of 5?
I'll give it that a 3.5. It was
3.5.
3.5. Yeah, it was. I mean, I expected. I think I expected a little more. I don't know why I expected a little more, but it was an all right match. It wasn't something like, oh wow, It's like I knew Paige was going to win. It just my thing was, I know Dark Order was going to get involved somehow. I had Matt Hardy beating Paige. I know that for a fact. Because this is about money. And if you think about it, we're talking about money, Matt Hardy. This guy is all about money. So what a best way to make Paige storyline, what we're just talking about, much harder is by taking his first quarter gains. Now, Paige now gets more depressed, and now, he's pissed off, so I'm thinking, and then Matt Hardy's just going to keep messing with him. So it delays a little bit of him capturing that AEW title, but at the same time, it's good because then you can push Omega further, and this forbidden door that you got open now, you can work on a lot of storylines. So that's why I had Hardy winning that, because, he's money Matt, so why not, instead of giving out money, get some more money?
Well, I completely agree. Apart from Double L went Paige, so it's 4-2 after 6, but I can understand with the idea. Poll-wise, Paige got 74% of the poll. We'll get the Face of the Revolution ladder match for a future TNT Championship opportunity next. And All Ego went All Elite as a former Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Champion joined the ladder match. So, of course, we knew we had our first surprise of the evening in this ladder match to be the kind of mystery man. What were your thoughts when it was announced as,
all I said when he came out, I was like, yes, Ethan Page in AEW. I did not want that man going to WWE at all, because, he'll be lost in NXT somewhere, and he will get pushed to God knows when. So him showing up at this Face of the Revolution match, the one thing I could say that I think they should have, they kind of, because of the surprise guest, whatever, that kind of took a lot of the impact of him showing up at the Revolution match. So, but seeing him in there, I was happy. That he lost a lot of weight. He's not as stocky as he was in Impact. He looked like he's cut down on body fat.
Well, we get into the match. We see Casey using the boombox to his advantage on more than one occasion while Paige sandwiched Archer in the ladder. Penta delivered a backstabber to Paige, bringing him off ladder to the mat below. Rose nursing a shoulder injury delivered a missile dropkick to Penta. Penta answered with Destroyer pole driver over the top rope and onto a ladder propped across the guardrail and the ring. Oh my God. I mean, that is arguably a biggest star.
That was an ugly
You're doing that.
Canadian Destroyer. Ugly. You know?
It's just,
I don't know.
That's money.
And not only that, I'm saying to myself, why are you doing a Canadian Destroyer when we know for a fact that Cody has a some kind of hairline tear in his rotator cuff, and you're going to hit him with a Canadian Destroyer? I'm like, oh my goodness.
They obviously don't like him.
It was horrible. It was a horrible Canadian Destroyer.
Well, his body wrapped with pain. Rose found himself taken to the back for medical attention in the ring. Sky brought Casey off the ladder, preventing him from grabbing the brass ring. Archer joined both Sky and Casey on the ladders before Paige joined in the festivities. All four men battled atop the ladder until the murder hook. Madman was knocked off the mat, followed by Paige and Casey. Penta stopped Sky from retrieving the ring, and Casey brought Paige off the ladder with a powerbomb. Later, Archer rocked Sky with a jumping knee strike to the face that sent the former World Tag Team Champion off the top rope and threw the ladder at ringside. Holy shit. And then
nasty fucking, I'm like, wow. He's broke the damn ladder in half. I'm like, I can't.
It's just, Penta laid out Paige and Casey in the corner and flattened Archer with a crossbody. A one-armed Rose made his way back to the ring, whipping his opponent with a weight belt and obliterating Paige with a crossroads. He scaled the ladder, but Archer met him and delivered a massive superplex. Casey followed with a claim-to-flame elbow drop to the back of the American. Archer loaded his opponent's chokeslamming everyone in sight and delivered a blackout to Casey onto a ladder.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, Cass is going to get killed. Because I'm like delivering him a blackout on top of the ladder. I was like, oh my God.
There's no protecting him there. It's going to happen.
No, hell no. But you got to give the guy props. You got to give the guy props. I mean, here he is in his singles match and he takes that bump. That's a crazy bump.
Wow, unbelievable. Paige stopped Archer from climbing, delivered a low blow and flattened him with an impressive razor's edge. Jake Roberts downed All Ego with a clothesline, but a super kick from Penta. The selling of it, he was on the hard cam as well. And he was just like sitting on the apron.
I saw Jake the Snake Roberts show clothesline eat the Paige, and I'm saying, dude, the hell you doing there? Get out of that ring.
Rose delivered a Cody cutter, but Penta recovered the American Nightmare's arm with a chair. Sky blasted Lucha Bro with the same chair. Sky slammed Cody's arm into the ladder and retrieved the brass ring for the win. What were your thoughts on that?
You know what's funny? AEW finds a way to take shot at WWE. When I saw that big brass ring, I was like, wow, they actually taking shots at WWE with that, that brass ring that WWE shows all the time. But let me tell you something. A lot of the, especially Caster, he really impressed me for a guy who's a tag team competitor. He took the crazy bump that we were just talking about with from Lance Archer, the blackout. But here's the crazy thing. I don't know if you noticed during the match. When Cody first left to the back, you actually see Cody, Art Anderson, the medical staff standing by the entryway, right? So I'm already looking at it, and I'm saying to myself, he's coming back in. They're not taking him to the back. He's coming back in. But see, we could see it through TV. Probably the crowd doesn't see it, right? Because they were standing out there for a good 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden, he just pops up. And then he takes a crazy suplex. I mean, Cody Rhodes lately has been taking crazy bumps. And maybe he's not used to those bumps. Last week, he went through a table with Shaquille O'Neal. So, I mean, and I knew he wasn't gonna win, but I like the way he was selling his injury, even though his injury is legit. But I like
Right, so I think with Cody, like I said, with the injuries that he's got, and the kind of everybody's expecting him to kind of win in a weird way because he got that kind of reaction with the fans of going, whoever's going against him kind of adds more atmosphere as well,
Yeah, and I like the way what it did. I mean, I already knew Scorpio Sky was going to win it again for the simple fact because of now his change of attitude now. And I noticed that he was in commentary this past Wednesday, and he was talking about, oh, I'm the face of the revolution. I'm like, this is what they should have done with Scorpio Sky months ago, because when Scorpio Sky had a streak going at Dark, I mean, he had like about 7 weeks in a row, and they put him in the ring with Cody for the TNT belt. That was the week before he fought Brody Lee and lost the belt to Brody Lee. I think it was the summer of last year. They kind of kill his momentum, you know. So this is the payback that they're doing. Do not be surprised if he does beat Darby Allin Wednesday.
Well, again, interesting to set up Dynamite like that. I think Paige did all right. Again, one of my notes is they should stop trying to dig WWE with a brass ring. Just, you know, carry on with your own stuff. It was good. There was too many times maybe waiting for spots, but it unfortunately just felt like another ladder match at the end. You know, nothing
well,
kind
you
of.
You didn't like the high spots. You didn't like well, the Canadian Destroyer was horrible, but
Yeah.
You didn't like the spot where I think Scorpio got thrown through the damn ladder.
Yeah, no, like I said, I like the both spots, but there's nothing. There's always something like that in a ladder match now. You know, when.
You expect it.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, if Sheamus goes through a ladder, like, you know, when these guys do it, yeah, and I think the kind of you go, God, they're going to do something crazy, and it's just it. And again, another thing, and again, it's not having to go AEW, but it's like a battle royal and a ladder match on each show. Yes, it's 4 or 5 months apart, and you need to put people on, but after a while, it's just the kind of you go, okay, ladder match, you know, well, it's a casino chip, oh, it's a brass ring, oh, it's you know.
I think the craziest spot in the whole match was the blackout, because I'm thinking Cassidy was gonna get out of it. I'm like, no, he's gonna take the bump. And I was like, wow, and he took the bump like a G. I'm like, yeah, you have to be crazy, a young guy like that. But you know what? These are matches that either make you or break you. So you're gonna take the spot, and who knows? Well, now Bowen's out with a knee injury. You know, who knows? You know, if that could blow up this young man right now.
Yeah, without a doubt. We're gonna give that out of 5.
I'll give it a 3.5. I mean, like you said, you expect all these crazy bumps in a match, but that Canadian Destroyer was like one of the worst spots they did there. I mean, again, the blackout on Caster was good, but it's like I already knew who was gonna win. And the fact that Cody played his role to the T, so you expected that he was not going to win because of that injury. But I give it a 3.5.
Yeah, I'm going to give that 3 3/4 out of 5. Like I said, it's a couple of good spots in that. Everybody put their body on the line. I respect that. But at the end of the day, it just felt like another ladder match. Prediction-wise, WNR went Archer. Chokeslam Report went Sky. He's back in the game. 4-3 now after 7. Poll-wise, 52% went for the Mystery Man, so they thought Paige was going to win, I guess. The Hoss Jimbo said, my boy Lance Hoyt has been saying his prayers and taking his vitamins. AEW needs to build this beast into the monster he is. And Bear and Chucky T said Sky. And then up next, it's the big signing announcement. The commentators have hyped it up. Everybody has hyped it up. You know, AEW fans were saying it was Punk, it was Lesnar, it was Cena. I said Kurt Angle. Your choice was Christian, of course. And also, we asked people on Twitter who their choice would be and who you know, it could be. Out of the polls, well, Kurt Angle got 33%, Christian got 25%. Kelsey said Jeff Hardy. Bruce said, imagine if Brock Lesnar showed up. And Mr. J Wrestling Hill said Cassius Ono. Well, like I said, it wasn't
Cassius Ono. What was he thinking?
Well, Justin Roberts announced AEW's latest signee as it's Christian Cage. Chokeslam Report got it right. It's Christian Cage. He then walks up to the podium on the stage and grabs his contract, bringing it into the ring and signing it without a word. Done. What were your... I mean, come on. You got the right one. Well done for that. What were your reasons behind it and what were your thoughts of his appearance? Because Christian's a great talker and he just signed his contract and just went.
Yeah, I mean, I picked Christian Cage because, like I said, since Paul White mentioned something on Wednesday about was a Hall of Fame worthy, the internet and the social media went berserk. Everybody started, assuming that it was CM Punk, Brock. They even went Brock Lesnar. They even had Lita in there, and then they had Christian. Now, when they mentioned Christian, I'll say, okay, it could be a possibility, Christian, because Christian has a history with Impact Wrestling. He was a former NWA World Champion in Impact. I think it was 2007, 8. I don't remember what year it was. So I'll say Christian. Then I'm reading through Wrestle Talk and Fight for Select that WWE didn't sign him, that the talks didn't go through, whatever. And I'm saying, okay, this whole thing with who it is driving me nuts. My best guess, I'd rather have Christian Cage. My biggest fear, John, you know who I thought it was going to be? Ryback. I was like, please do not bring Ryback into AEW. So I went to watch this show and I was like, I'm going to get disappointed. And once they mentioned Christian, I was happy with it. But the part about I will overwork everybody, I'm like, since when that's been his MO? He never said that, He always talked about his peeps, if I'm correct, So Christian in there is a good move for the simple fact because he has experience. He's been in the business for a while. He could help the younger talent. I don't see him as a big a guy who's going to be in the world title picture. I could see him in big storylines, but it'd probably be Mick Carter type. I mean, it's better than Ryback. That's what I can say.
Well, this is TNA. No, I'm joking. Weirdly enough, though, 3 pages and 2 cages in AEW at the moment. I'm sure they could do something with that. We've got.
Yeah, that's right, because they got Brian Cage and Christian Cage. Yeah. And they got Ethan Page and Hangman Page.
And DDP, Diamond Dallas Page at ringside. Yeah, there you go.
But he was upset. Probably was that. There's too many pages.
Yeah, he's like, fucking hell, come on.
No, but
anyway.
But you know what's the great part about it? He came out with his TNA music. That's why when I listened to the music, it sounded like Kurt Angle, old music in TNA. But then I heard the beginning. I said, wait a minute, that's Cage. So he still had ownership of that of his entry from TNA.
Well, technically, Christian does check all the boxes. He's unquestionably a big name. He's definitely Hall of Fame worthy. But the problem is the unevenness, I think, of this announcement. I mean, the last huge signing the company made was The Big Show. And they casually announced that on Twitter on a sleepy Wednesday afternoon. And now, with the hype before a major pay-per-view, I mean, like I said, the AEW fans were saying it's going to be Brock Lesnar, it's going to be CM Punk, it's going to be Batista. It may be unrealistic, but it warranted it considering how casual AEW was with Paul White. I think if it was the other way around and Big Show had been announced at the pay-per-view and Cage on a Wednesday, would that have been a bigger announcement?
No, because the people are going to look at Big Show like, okay, why are we signing a 50-year-old guy? And who's in and out of the ring. I mean, he looks in great shape, whatever, but it would have not been no big hype. I mean, Christian Cage, because it's okay. He's not something you're gonna jump for joy, but he could still go. He could still go in the ring. He could still give you good matches. And is a different environment. You could wrestle with younger guys. You could go into the ring with anybody there, depending on what story it is. You could have a Christian Cage against Brian Cage. You know what I'm saying?
Battle of the cages in a cage.
But, yeah, if it would have been the other way, yeah, exactly. It would have been a different scenario if they would have made Paul White the big signee, and you would have been like, what? Like, everybody, boo, get that shit out of here,
Instead, it was kind of more like,
everybody was like, yay, Christian Cage, okay, that's what I was saying. The Ethan Page surprise didn't get that big time response because people were waiting and in astonishment who was going to be the big signee. So that's
like I said, it's Christian, and I love Christian. I've loved him for a long, long time. It's just quite funny that they kind of hype this up, and it is Christian. Like I said, he's going to outwork everybody, so it should be good. But we get into the action, and the co-main event is a street fight. Sting and Darby Allin versus Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. No match in the history of wrestling has had more build-up, as it seems, than this one. We see Taz joining the commentary. We get Cage and Starks get into a neon green supercar and drive to a said location, finding some spotlights and a big industrial fan in a warehouse where also sits a dilapidated wrestling ring and, of course, referee. We see Sting driving to the location, an army of men in hoodies and Sting's makeup, and Darby skateboarding to the location, hitching a ride on Sting's trucks. They arrive and get in the ring. The Sting goons surround the ring and pound on the mat. And it's like we're at the... It's absolutely mental. What were your thoughts on the arrivals, first and foremost? Because it took you there.
The arrivals. When I first saw there was going to be cinematic, I was a little like, oh, really? It's going to be cinematic? But the introduction, the way everything was set up, it was cool. I liked it. It was like, this is like Darby Allin environment, guys in masks, you don't know who they are, hoodlums. The fact that Sting was driving this black pickup truck. I laugh because Ted said his old pickup truck, as much money as he made in his career. Darby, it reminded me of a superhero type thing. Like the big superhero got this big giant vehicle and this guy is in a skateboard or like a gliding right next to it. So I like the whole introduction and the way it started and the whole black and white. There was no color. It was just black and white. Made it more eerie. And I mean, they said street fight. It looked more like a warehouse fight. But the beginning, it was good. I like the way they started.
Well, like I said, it starts off with Darby springboarding off the wall, but Cage catches him and throws him out of the ring. We see Cage overpowering and punish Allin, throwing him through a door, while Sting proved he didn't need his trademark baseball bat to neutralise Starks. He then hunted him down, but meanwhile, Cage hoists a vertical suplex and then just casually walked up a flight of stairs and then dropped him onto a trash can. God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that guy takes bumps. I'm telling you. I mean, go ahead, because there was one part he did. He looked like Spider-Man climbing up the wall.
Yeah, but it's just the power of Cage.
Oh yeah, you seen when he grabbed him by his back?
Yeah, he grabbed him by the back of his side, walking up
like he was a briefcase. He just picked him up like nothing. Like he was going to work.
Sting saved Darby, and Sting makeup looks awesome. Of course, half Sting. He had the half Darby design, which really fucking
Oh yeah,
that
out. Was cool. Yeah, it was real cool. I like that. I liked it because it's like Darby reminds him of him. So I mean the other thing, all the guys with a mask on. I think the mask was half Sting and half Darby. If I'm correct.
And the thing is with Sting is that he doesn't change his makeup often, so you knew it was kind of a big occasion, and starts using a barrel to get Sting down, but even that didn't work. Cage recovered from a table spot to drive Sting into a brick wall, all while Powerhouse Hobbs and Taz's son Hook double-teamed Allin. The Joe sent him crashing through a pane of windows. That looked incredible. That looked
like it hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, he threw him right through the pane of windows, and I'm like, what the heck? He just take crazy bumps. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't get cut.
Well, Team Taz focused their attack on the Icon. Cage blasted Sting with a shovel, had the legendary competitor in peril before Allin recovered and tossed him the black baseball bat. And like you talk about, it's like a superhero or a Jedi, and he finally gets his lightsaber, and then he's just going to town. Thor. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hammer and toe.
Yeah.
Going to it, and he pummeled the opposition with it. And then Allin fell several floors through the air, wiping the hills out with a coffin drop. That bump as well, the fall from that, just again looked incredible. And then back in the ring, Sting looked for the Stinger Smash from Starks, but missed. Starks answered with a spear for near fall, and then Sting recovered, reversed Starks, and delivered the Scorpion Death Drop for the win. What were your thoughts on this?
Listen, and I said this on Twitter on Saturday night when I saw the match. This is one. As a matter of fact, this is the best cinematic match I've seen since the cinematic match started, about 5 years ago. The way they set it up, the way it was done, again, with Darby climbing up a brick wall like Spider-Man, and they're just dropping himself on top of everybody. it was crazy. I'm like, yo, what did this kid cannot do? And then the crazy spot where he must have been like 2 flights up when he elbow dropped Brian Cage through it, and then landed on the bottom or whatever. This was one of the best cinematic matches. As a matter of fact, I think this was the best match in the whole pay-per-view. So I'm like, the way I looked at it at that time, I'm like, well, this explosion match better be top this, because even though it was cinematic, it was pretty good. I liked the whole thing. Like, I knew the Team Taz, Hood and Brian and Hobbs was gonna come out and and interfere in the match, because it's a street fight. These guys are gonna get involved. So, again, that cinematic. I don't think anybody could top this. I want to see anybody top this cinematic match.
No, it made sense to have a cinematic match. Not only could it help Sting, but it all set up for the main event. But this was brilliant. And one thing, I couldn't have asked for more. One thing I thought after this, and I posted it on Twitter as well, because it brought a tear to my eye, is that we could have had Undertaker versus in a cinematic match, and it could have worked. We've got proof of it now. We've got proof of that match at Revolution. Of course, the Undertaker in Boneyard, we had that opportunity and they didn't give it to us. And that's a sad thing. But again, what a match. This is 5 out of 5 for me. What are you going to score it?
Yeah, 5 out of 5. I mean, like I said, I saw it. And then here's the best part what AEW did. AEW did never mention, I think I've been talking about it for like weeks, about, is Sting going to take a bump? Is Sting ready to take is he could be able to wrestle? I say it can't be in a regular street fight with taking bumps inside the daily plays or whatever. No, they never mentioned this was going to be cinematic. Never. No, I've been following this for the last 4 weeks. They never mentioned about this being cinematic. Again, when I saw it was going to be cinematic, I was like, oh, it's going to be cinematic. But the way they set up everything, the introduction, the way Cage and Starks were in the car, landed in this warehouse, they walk in. Now they're showing Sting coming in with the car. You see Darby right next to him, or going with the skateboard, finally catches up with Sting, hangs on to the back of the pickup truck. They go into the building. You cannot, the way everything was set up, you cannot do it any better. I want to see what cinematic matches, either WWE or any other company, top this.
Yeah, it's a cinematic match. I've not enjoyed one as much as, like we said, WrestleMania last year when it came to Boneyard and the Firefly Funhouse, and this was fantastic. Prediction-wise, we both went Sting and Allen, so it's 5-4 after 8. Poll-wise, Sting and Allen, 87% of the vote. There is no surprise, really. And then Don Callis joins the commentary for the main event. We're going to get into this right now. At first, when they said barbed wire ropes, but the ropes are still there, I thought, oh, hang on a minute. But I can see why they kind of left it there. But in your mind, was the free size with just barbed wire and no ropes, yeah?
That part confused me. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I've seen barbed wire explosion matches from Japan. And first of all, there shouldn't have been no ropes at all. No ropes. Nowhere near those barbed wire. Those barbed wires should have been just barbed wire. So I say, okay, maybe they're playing safe. You don't really want to have somebody have half of their body shred to pieces, because I started saying, where are they going to enter if the whole ring is barbed wire, right? But then I saw the open area. I said, okay, all right, I'll let you slide on that one, But and then I was looking for the mines or whatever they call it, explosion pads and all that. And I'm like, this does not look the way they do it in Japan. It's different.
And also with the fans being so close, I mean, we can have respect to, we can reference this as well. Like with these types of matches, in Japan, it was like a massive stadium. And, the fans were not close to explosion. And I started thinking the people in the first couple of rows watching the action should really kind of move back a little bit.
But they moved them back. They moved them back, but it wasn't far enough. And that's how I knew. Because there was one part of the show, Jada Cargill sitting in the crowd, but they weren't pushed all the way back. And that's how I started saying, well, this is not going to be that C4 explosion. Because there's no way in the world you're going to have a C4 explosion with people that close. And then I see the referee with his raincoat, because that's what it looked like, a damn white raincoat. And I'm like, no, this is not gonna be like the way in Japan.
I thought it was Breaking Bad, like he was, dressing up as. But, anyway, we see the opening moments of the Exploding Barbwire match between Moxley and Omega, and they avoid the razor-sharp wire surrounding the square circle. Moxley got the first upper hand with a bout, blasting the champion with a kendo stick to the back. His advantage was short-lived as Omega triggered the first explosion of the match, sending the challenger back first into the barbed wire. That looked great, didn't it? That first explosion set the tone. You're thinking, wow, that's cool.
Yeah. And once I that's what I kept waiting for. I said, I want to see who hits the barbed wire first, and how the explosion is going to look. And it was good. It was good at that time.
Well, Mox nursed his lower leg, which Omega immediately targeted. He trapped a bloody Moxley in the figure four, looking for a submission. Moxley answered by grabbing a wire-wrapped chair and sawing away at his opponent's leg.
Oh, that was crazy. Ooh, I saw that. I was like, yo. I saw he grabbed the chair and he started like grading. I was like, oh my God. I had my 13-year-old daughter watching this match. She's also watching. She was watching it. She was like, I said, watch this.
Well, Omega tried for a snapdragon. Moxley fought out, but the cleaner sent him into the barbed wire board, cracking it in half. That looks Foley-esque because he's struggling to get out of it. You can see the wire cutting into him, and then Mox with the Crimson Mask as well. He was bleeding.
He was bleeding like a sweat hog.
Well, then we see a moonsault followed for two. Mox in a moment of desperation sent Omega into the wire twice, detonating two explosions again at this moment in time as well.
That's crazy because he hit it twice. I think back to back he hit it, and the explosion in his face. I was like, oof.
Well, Moxley sent Omega to another wire board, driving him down with a suplex of his own. He wraps a wire around his own arm and tries for a clothesline, only to eat a snapdragon, then another. This is the thing, though, because a couple of things. Where first off, when Omega went through the board, he'd only gone through like a quarter of it, which probably ended up being a little bit worse because you couldn't have that much protection. And then when Moxley wrapped the barbed wire around his arm, I think the commentators forgot when he clotheslined Omega afterwards that he still had it.
Yeah, they didn't mention nothing about it. He clotheslined it with the barbed wire, and I'm like waiting for them. Okay, are they gonna say anything about the barbed wire that he just clotheslined them with? But he didn't say nothing.
So, Omega drove his foe into the ropes, necessitating another explosion before selling the explosive's effect on his eyesight. He asked for a bottle of water, and of course that came in as well. Moments later, champion and challenger were introduced to 1/3 of Triple Hell as Moxley delivered a power shift off the apron onto a large bed of barbed wire, complete with more pyro. This was incredible, and if you look at the replay, one little misposition or a second later, Moxley would have been caught right under it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and then Omega got caught. He he started bleeding like a sweat hog also because his head hit that barbed wire and the board at the same time. He went head first. I was like, wow. He took a big bump on that. And then the fact that Moxley's wrestling with no shirt, okay, and you went and did that move, and you pull Omega's head first to the board and the barbed wire, and you land on your back with no shirt. I mean, he was screaming trying to get out of that board. I was like, oh my God. I felt the pain.
Honestly, it was brutal. At this moment in time, it was brutal. Back in the ring, Moxley used a spool of barbed wire on the now bloodied Omega. A pile driver followed as the commentary team sold the countdown to the ring exploding at the 30-minute mark. I quite like that as well, the pacing, because then Moxley heard it and realised and then was trying to put Omega away, of course, Omega delivered consecutive V-triggers and added a one-winged angel. Moxley hit the ropes during the pinfall, igniting an explosion that blinded Omega. That's fucking brilliant, because no one kicks out, but the visual as well, it just worked perfectly, didn't it,
Yeah, because he hit the one-winged angel, and then by him kicking, which is logic, again, using logic, makes the match even better because he kicked, him trying to get out or probably slightly get out. He kicked the wire and set off the explosion, which was a good spot.
I think all rope breaks should be like that now.
I don't mind seeing those matches. It's here to do. I'm just like,
it's every time.
Rope break, I forgot. Rope break is an explosion. Get off.
The Good Brothers made a save and gave Omega an exploding barbed wire bat, as you do, that he used on Moxley, but that could not keep him down. And again, we've seen this kind of gimmick used before, but quite impressively. And then Omega delivered a one-winged angel on a chair and earned a hard-fought win. At this moment in time, fantastic. What a bloody brutal match, taking it to the very next level. But after the match, Omega and the Good Brothers beat and handcuffed Moxley down. The countdown clock on the screen, and Eddie Kingston hit the ring, fending off the heels and covering Moxley up. Of course, this has been a long storyline of Kingston, Moxley saying to Kingston, I'm not going to give up on you, you're my friend. And then finally Kingston realising Moxley's his friend and coming out to protect him after this huge explosion is going to go off. And then... It was like a child's birthday celebration. It was like 4 sparklers going off and then a little explosion afterwards. What were your thoughts when this happened?
Listen. I know me and my roommate was like, yo, this look like a 4th of July little fireworks sizzle thing. I was like, what the hell's going on here? Okay, I understand what they were trying to do. I'm going to break it down real quick here. So Omega goes and he handcuffs Moxley. His plan was for this big explosion to come. Now we're going to pull Moxley out of wrestling for good, because once this explosion goes, whatever. Eddie Kingston comes in because they're friends for years and all this stuff. So now he's trying to come in, save Moxley. Let's go. He can. So now he's expecting a big explosion. The explosion doesn't happen. Okay. So now we're disappointed. The story behind that explosion not going off is more saying Omega failed to do because supposedly this was his, he was the brainchild behind the explosion thing, and this part failed. It didn't explode. So Moxley's still around. As long as he's still around, he's going to have to watch his back. The part that they messed up was when Eddie Kingston covered them and the thing didn't go off. Kingston acted, when the thing went off, fizzle, Eddie Kingston acted like he was unconscious. And in my head, I'm like, the thing didn't explode, so why are you playing it off like you're unconscious, like a big explosion come out? So it made it look more bad than it really was. You understand what I'm saying? So even though after they claimed Moxley spoke out about, how he was happy about this stuff and about the match and how Omega failed to detonate the explosion because he's an idiot, blah, blah. So that was the plan. But I guess somebody forgot to tell Eddie Kingston, don't play like you getting unconscious. Just, act like it's going to explode, but it doesn't explode. Then you're like, oh, okay. And then you help your friend. So,
well, it was obviously something went wrong there. You can tell. After the show went off the air, Moxley, realising the weakness of the blast, broke from kayfabe and responded to the crowd saying, Kenny Omega may be a tough son of a bitch, but he can't make an exploding ring worth shit. And then Tony Khan spun the unintentional dud into part of the story, saying, I think we're all lucky that bomb going off at the end didn't really hurt anybody. Kenny's a big master plan. He built a dud. Who would have thought he would have drew a big plan with crayons and a bomb might have failed to take out both guys. And then he's saying, well, what did you want? Both of them to be blown up.
But then why Eddie Kingston's playing like he's unconscious? So that's I don't understand.
I completely agree. The Eddie Kingston thing is completely stupid. When it comes to it, he should have just got up and maybe no-sold it, or just picked up Moxley or whatever it is when it comes to that. But the problem is with AEW is saying, it's the most brutal match, and it was one of the most brutal matches that we've seen in a very, very long time. But when you say exploding, and you and I have watched plenty of Japanese, wrestling. We've seen plenty of explosions. Yeah. That was not it. And when you say, well, would you expect them to blow each other up? And, WWE have a lot of people, of course, got problems. But when it's like Randy Orton the Fiend, and it's like the loser will be set on fire, and you see the Fiend set afire, and you go, well, that's too far.
Actually, it was a dummy, but they were set on fire.
But you saw him set on fire. You didn't, you know what I mean? If they could have had 2 dummies, the only 2 dummies in the ring with AEW was actually Moxley and Kingston for kind of not selling it, because they could have done that and then had a huge explosion. They could have edited that. As well as I do with the tricks and everything like this. You could have told the live crowd this is not what's going to happen on TV. And the thing is, this is a problem because, I think Vince McMahon said that only people only remember the ending for it. And it's a shame because it was, I mean, talk about the match, except for the, the horrible thing that happened at the end with the Shockmaster-esque fuck up. What were your thoughts on the, actual matchup itself?
Oh my God. Every time you say Shockmaster, I remember that whole flair for the gold. Overall, the match, I would give it a 4.5. Let's cut off the part that the dud went off because that happened after the match. I'll give it a 4.5. I mean, I can't say it lived up to the hype because it did explode when you touched the bar wires, but it didn't live to the hype because the ending was a dud. The part where the ring was supposed to explode, it didn't explode. I mean, if you was running with the fact that Omega was an idiot and didn't know how to do an explosion, complete explosion of the ring, then why you had Eddie Kingston come out? And that's the part. And that's the part that messes it up. But I think overall the match itself was a 4.5. I like it.
I'm gonna give it a 4.25. I think it was a really, really brutal matchup. I mean, if you're gonna count the ending, it's like a 1. But like you said, it's not the ending. The match itself.
The end is a 0.
And it's a shame. It's a shame, though, that these guys put their bodies on the line and sacrifice so much to never get remembered.
But see, again, it's a different story if it's a company that's been around 15, 20 years. Then you'll be like, you a major fuck up. You know what I'm saying? But they're gonna have to learn. They're gonna do mistakes down the line. And I know a lot of people online were like, oh, it was a dud, whatever. And especially WWE fans, because WWE fans love criticizing AEW, but they don't bring up the part of the eye versus eye Seth Rollins Mysterio match where a little eyeball came out of plastic, and nobody mentions that. So, they're gonna have to learn. They're gonna learn from the mistakes. And Tony Khan has to crack down on, guys taking creative ideas on their own. You gotta put a limit to certain things. Okay, guys, because to me is somebody didn't go and tell Eddie Kingston it's not really gonna be an explosion. You gotta go in there, cover him, pretend it's gonna explode, and it doesn't explode. You're gonna look around like in shock, like, oh my God, I thought it was gonna explode, but it didn't do that. He played it off, and then Tony Khan talking about, you wanted 2 people get exploded. Then why would you even advertise this? It makes no sense.
This is a problem. They're talking about the kind of honeymoon period for AEW kind of being over. They hyped up this huge Hall of Fame signing, and they hyped up the match, and it kind of didn't pay off in the end, And this is the thing. It's not an issue. First off, prediction wise, we both went Omega. Final scores 6-5 in predictions. But with Christian and your guess, I'm going to give you a point for that. So it ends in a draw. All right. So that's fair enough.
Don't worry, I'll get you on the next one. It's double or nothing. But that's the thing. Listen, I mean, what do you think about the whole as a whole pay-per-view? What is your thought? What do you think it was? I mean, to me, I think it was a decent pay-per-view. The only thing that I can say that messed up was that part, the dud.
I think for me, we'll score out of 10. First off, in the match of the night is easy. It's Sting versus Darby Allin. That was a great match.
But the Omega, I think the Omega and Moxley match could be number 2.
Yeah, and then you had Shida and Rio, which was a great match, and then maybe the Battle Royal afterwards. So, on paper, it's not bad. I mean, I would probably give it an 8.5 out of 10, only because, and this is only a couple of things. For me, it's just too long, and the Battle Royal and a ladder match, and yes, like I say, you need to get the talent on the card, but you just feel like when it's 4 hours long, and then there's a half hour of buy-in.
I don't have a problem with being that long because remember, it's one thing if they do pay-per-views every month. Like WWE does a pay-per-view every month, and their pay-per-views like 3. Now they're doing it 3, but they were doing pay-per-views before 4 hours every month. And I think when you get a chance to bring to get everybody in, in a pay-per-view because you only do it like, well, they got like four pay-per-views every 3 months, something like that is. I don't mind. I don't mind. And if you watch every pay-per-view and you're constantly watching pay-per-view probably 3 or 4 times a month, yes, it becomes I don't want to watch. It's too long. But
I think with
Go ahead.
Sorry, but I think with Dynamite, Dynamite is not just, back in the day, you have you kind of, you show that was on, that was for the kind of job match and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. I think Dynamite, especially when you look at the last, Dynamite we had with Shaquille O'Neal and Cody, these are big events. So it feels, like big events. So when it comes to pay-per-view.
So you think they should have had the Shaquille O'Neal match and the pay-per-view instead of having like the Miro and Kip Sabian?
I would have replaced that. The ladder match I would have had, and maybe the battle royal on the buy-in, and and had something like this, because the thing is like with the buy-in, with the battle royal, maybe it made a little bit of sense off the show. I'm not complaining how this. I mean, the Bucks came through in the end, but it's just this is the thing of when you're trying to watch as much wrestling as you can, and it's like, right, okay, this is maybe. Can it keep a live crowd for that amount of time? And yes, like I said, they only do it once every 3 months. But even the people in attendance, can they keep a crowd for four and a half hours?
AEW, I think they could. And the reason I say that, I think if you've been watching AEW as long as I'm sure we both was watching it for as long as it's been around. When they used to have the pay-per-views. Their crowd is loud. Even on Dynamite, their crowds were loud before the pandemic. I think they could still have a live crowd, but they cannot be doing these mistakes. That's the thing. If you're gonna have a show, right, and then you're gonna have an ending like this, that's gonna turn off fans from coming live to these pay-per-views. I mean, good example was the All Out event last summer. That was one of their worst pay-per-views, and that's one of their biggest pay-per-views. And I think that's one of the worst pay-per-views they had since their existence. I think their problem is what I'm looking at. If they stay away from overbooking the matches, like I understand the battle royals are not something that you may like, or the ladder matches. I think, like I said earlier, there's some of these battle royals and Thunder. I don't know why I say Thunder. These table ladder matches, they bring up other stories. So they create other stories. But they gotta get away. If they're gonna have a pay-per-view this long, you cannot have these f-ups like what happened with the little dud that happened in the end, because people are expecting more, and you gotta go out with a bang. You can't go out with a dud. No pun intended. That's exactly what happened. You started off with a bang and went out on a dud. So they got to stay away from that.
And also to have pay-per-view worthy matches, and not, if you're going to have a 3 or 4 month build up to a pay-per-view, actually have matches that are going to be there with kind of good build on them as well. It's like the Jurassic Express and the FTR, with Tully involved, would have been a perfect pay-per-view match, because they've
now that you mentioned them, FTR, I was very surprised that they were not there. And they weren't even in a damn tag team battle royal. I was counting the teams. I think they had like 15, 16 teams in there. That's a lot. That's a lot of teams for them to have there. And I'm like, you don't have one of the best tag teams in there besides Young Bucks and Santos Ortiz in the battle royal? Like, what happened there? So...
It was strange. MVP of the night, I'm going to say Phoenix, because of just it's incredible what he does, and Rio in the women. Who are you going to pick as your MVP of the night?
Phoenix, definitely Phoenix. That face off with him and Jungle Boy, I want to see them go at it one-on-one. I would love to see that. The Rio, I got to give again. Yeah, she's my MVP, because that woman, she took 10 knee strikes, dude. I mean, I never seen anybody take that much knee strike. Maybe a male Japanese wrestlers, because I've seen guys take V triggers in Japan like crazy when Mega was out there. But this woman showed what she's made of, reason she's been in the business this long. And I would like her to stay around, see how far she goes, if she could help build a division better than what it is.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. So what is your score out of 10? I'm going to give this an 8.5, which is probably one of my lowest AEW pay-per-view ratings. But what are you going to say?
I'll go with an 8.5. I'm going to go with an 8.5 because of the dud. That dud. Again, they started off with a bang and they finished off with a dud. I think if they would have ended with that ring exploding, I would have gave it a 10. But they didn't because they messed up the last part. The last part, you leave the last impression. The last impression should be good. And then that was the last impression they left.
Well, Cody had more chance of getting hurt on his entrance, I think, than they did at that point in time when the explosion went off. But like you said, the last thing the pay-per-view ended with was with booing and laughing, which is just such a no-no when it comes to that.
Yes.
But that is it. That is us for AEW and, of course, Revolution. And don't forget, this weekend we're going to have Prelude to Dynamite and brace for Impact, because next week it is Impact Sacrifice and you will be joining us again because it is Moose versus Swan. How much are you looking forward to this?
Listen, I'm waiting for Moose to beat the crap out of him and take that belt away from him. I want Moose to win that belt. Now, my question is this. If Moose wins the Impact belt, are they going to unify the belts? That is the question. We're all going to have to wonder when Moose wins the belt this Saturday. Is it this Saturday?
Yeah, it's this Saturday coming as people listen to this.
Moose Undisputed World Champion. I'm predicting it right here for all my UK fans out there. Moose Nation, get ready. Your next Undisputed World Champion, Moose.
Well, like I said, at the weekend, we're going to have all the build-up to Impact and the fallout from Dynamite. And, of course, then, like I said, you will be joining me next Tuesday for Sacrifice. I cannot wait. But that is it. Before we go, our follower of the week is Jacob Barton. Don't forget, we're across all social media, Twitter, at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNRJR. Do you want to just plug your stuff, Goody?
Yeah, I'm on the Chokeslam Wrestling Report. You can find me on the YouTube channel. You can also find me on the audio podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, any major audio podcast platforms. You guys can find me. Also, I believe I'm out there on my YouTube channel called Power 4, the channel Power 4. I think it's a streaming device out there in UK. You can see me in there. I think I started there like about 2 weeks ago. So if you want to join Power 4 and join the streaming device, streaming line, whatever, you can find my YouTube videos there. I do it every week. So enjoy.
Well, definitely check him out there. It's definitely worthwhile. WNR also on Facebook and Instagram, across all the Google platforms. Send us an email, the WNR Podcast at gmail.com, and YouTube, WNR Podcast. For latest clips and podcasts go at the same time on YouTube as they do SoundCloud and also Spotify and iTunes. You can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. And like I said, we all know what's coming up now. But it has been a pleasure to have you back on.
Anytime, brother.
Maybe the AEW pay-per-view, was a little bit of a whimper, went out with a little bit of a bang, but this podcast didn't today, did it?
Not at all, man. I love being in your podcast because the two great minds working together, and I just have fun. This is great. I love it.
Well, like I said, I love having you on, mate, and like I said, your experience and everything like that just brings an extra edge to it. And it is Moose versus Swan next week, and we can't wait for that.
Moose.
Until then, I have been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the fantastic Ultimate One. Thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.